I think the issue is when I know just me speaking from experience in my early 20s, the whole being vulnerable thing, I'm like, like it wasn't even weird. It was just like, okay. But now I long for that because now I realize how at 21, 22, I may have been struggling with the hidden trauma that I had no idea about, that I now know at 28, 29 that it's something that I want to talk about. And I know now anybody that I'm dating has now dealt with some type of trauma in their life. Right. So now I'm aware of childhood traumas, and now I'm aware of how long they can transcend until you attack them how you should attack. Mm-hmm. So I think that was one thing, like in early 20s, you're not thinking about that. Right. You living, dating, having sex, doing whatever you want to do. But the moment that you get to a certain tier and you hit over that threshold, you're like, okay, you know what? Things that I did in my early 20s, that was an issue. And now I need to tackle what happened in my early 20s, now in my late 20s. I know it may be kind of late, but let me be more mindful about it and let me find out how I can maneuver through this. And hopefully somebody is open enough to understand what I've been through in my past.
Hey, Nigel. Did too hard, bruh.
Does childhood trauma affect us in relationships?
Yeah, 100%.
I believe it does. I think it goes into what actually is your trauma though. If you're growing up and you stand in a one parent household, that's probably a trauma to you, depending on how you was raised, or how your relationship is with your mother and father. That could be a trauma. Did you grow up and you was insecure about, or you was unsure about your sexuality? That could be a trauma.
110%. I feel like childhood traumas carry over into adulthood, and until you learn how to manage those traumas, it will affect how you interact with other people, especially in a relationship, in an intimate setting, depending on your trauma though. What you think?
Most definitely. They definitely do. I think everyone also too has their own definition of childhood traumas. So what you may have experienced as a child that may have been very traumatic to you, and vice versa, y'all may not think that they're equal or equivalent to each other. But I definitely think that they do show a big significance on, or actually portray a big significance on how you are as an adult.
For me, it comes down to your personality. How can you handle it? If you can handle it well, it might not be a trauma to you. It might not, affect you as much as it can affect somebody else's. Depending on how you was brought up.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that a lot of whatever you're struggling with in your current relationship, or if you find like a reoccurring pattern, relationship after relationship, you can usually trace it back to your childhood and say, for example, I have a friend who can't take any kind of criticism from a man. And I was like talking to her about it, and she said, and I realized as I was looking back at my childhood, it's because my dad was only critical of me. Like anything that came out of his mouth was negative toward me. So whenever a man, AKA a boyfriend, would say anything negative, even if it was to help her, she would snap, right? So I feel like, those are your moldable years. When you're a child, that's what molds you, how you relate to a man, how you relate to a woman, or maybe if your dad was absent or your mom is just abusive, whatever it is. I think that's something that you have to look at your childhood and see, okay, what is it that happened in my childhood that made me this way, that's making me toxic in this relationship?
Facts. I feel like as black people, we already kind of come with trauma, low-key, just because of like how you have to prepare yourself to exist. Yeah. And something in that, like also adding whatever you go through as a child, whatever you go through, like a lot of people come from broken homes, like a lot of people don't know how to express love, like just all the things. And if you don't really attack those, I feel like you're gonna have an issue with trying to love on somebody else and trying to make space for somebody else. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't know, but how do you, my whole thing is, how do you First of all, that's very important to notice somebody's childhood.
Yeah.
Because
Facts.
that lets you know what type of person you're going to be dealing with in a relationship.
Facts.
Like, so if you were a person that had to be sneaky growing up and you had to lie about shit, you're probably going to be talking to a cheating ass, lying ass nigga in real life. Because that's what he's learned in 15, 20 years.
Facts.
So it's very important to know about the childhood in order to know about what type of person you're going to be dealing with. Now, the issue I run into is, can you stay after you find out the traumas? And the dramas.
So I definitely feel like when you realize that you're triggered, when you realize trauma has happened in your life is when you're triggered in the way that you respond to it. I grew up in like a military background, so my dad was very, very, very strict. Like, this is what it is, this is what it ain't, do what you gonna do, and this is what you ain't gonna do. Right. And I think as a kid, I really, really harbored a lot of communication, a lot of feelings. I kept a lot of things more so like internal than I did vocalizing. And a lot of times it did result in like anger and, you know, certain things that children was just kind of OD. But I think at a certain age, when I was probably like 16 or 17, I kind of made a pact to myself that if I'm ever feeling a certain type of way, I'm gonna always vocally communicate it. If I feel something about it, I'm not gonna internalize it and just let it kind of like sit and let it just kind of weigh out and see how it works out. I'm gonna always talk about how I actually feel. So I won't necessarily say that that's a trauma, but that's a trigger for me. A trigger for me is people that I can look at you and tell you feel away, but you're not vocally communicating how you feel. Yeah. And that's a big issue. Like, I see it in your face. Like, you're not poker facing. Right. It's all over you. It's all in your demeanor. Say what you feel. Say what you want to talk about.
Yeah, and I also, it don't necessarily have to be as like dramatic as what you said though. It could be something. Your mom and dad could have just gotten a divorce, and that could be a trauma. You know, you feel me? Like for me, if I'm speaking personally, my mom and my dad divorced when I was 5. But I want to say that it was a trauma because of how their relationship didn't work. It doesn't affect me, you know, and how I look at women or how I view women. Because they're not the only example that I'm looking at. I'm looking at other examples. We see people on TV all the time. We can use those as examples. Shows that we watched growing up, we can use those as examples. Now for those that it does traumatize you, I do feel like it has something, I think growth has a lot to do with it as far as your ability to grow from it. I think that growth is a big thing. Being able to date multiple people, knowing, you know, what you like and what you don't like can help certain situations. And also communication.
I feel like you can stay if they also know their trauma. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people go through trauma and don't know it. A lot of people think that they like are good, think that it's all good, and little do they know, like you got a lot of baggage. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of people haven't been loved properly, so you can't love properly. A lot of people haven't like experience like a quality relationship, so you can't have quality relationships. It's just always, it's like a cyclical process. Like, it just happens.
I mean, but when do you think you experienced a quality relationship? Because I'm yet to experience.
I mean, you know,
my friendships.
I mean, you know, in our world is a little different. But what I'm saying is, I think like I think you can have a quality relationship when you kind of like start working on yourself in a real way. Like I feel like start like when you acknowledge your own stuff, how you come to the pot, like what you're bringing. I think then you kind of like attract people who are also on that same wave. If that makes any sense. Yeah. I feel like sometimes like we think we're ready and we're not ready, or we think we're evolved and we're not evolved, and then we attract people who also think they're evolving and are not evolved. Exactly. And so now we're both
hot ass mess. You both are a hot ass mess because you're gonna groove feelings for each other and it's not working, and
basically
it's a hot ass mess.
I would say my traumatized again will be with women because of the fact like just seeing how, you know, my household, like my mom, promise them, she'll ask me, like, cause she see, you know, she helped with social media, and she was like, you know, baby, what is OnlyFans? And I'm like, and I show it to her, and she was like, wow, this is what women really doing, you know, like, and that's, you know, that's considered what, entrepreneurship, so.
Or cute.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, so, and then I guess with me, like I said, just seeing how my dad, you know, what you were saying, because my father, he's a retired Fed, so, like, that's similar background, you know what I'm saying, so, like my dad, he was not, like, imagine, I bring my female, you know, to the house, and my parents, traditional parents, oh, so what you do, baby? Oh, well, What you want to say? OnlyFans? You know what I'm saying? So as far as like when that's things like that, I guess that's considered what, trauma?
And I think it's so interesting because this is something interesting about like childhood trauma. So I've known a few of my guy friends actually who they've been through, you know, seeing their parents or their mom get cheated on multiple times. Right. And then my certain friend is the type of person who saw that and used that as, I never ever want to be like that. And then there are also people who grow up around that environment and then become a product of their environment and take that into their relationships. So I think it's interesting to think about, okay, what is the difference between the person who uses that as fuel because they have so much hatred towards that, and then the person who just like carries on their life with that, and what does it take to really, become that person to go against the grain rather than just going with how you were, right.
I can say I think the issue is with our generation. We grew up in a series of different type of, I won't say different type of generations, but different type of situations. Like our generation a lot of our generations come from backgrounds of families that are parents that have been together over 15 plus years.
The 90s,
yeah. So like you have parents, like most people look at their parents as the example or what they would like to set for themselves. Right. However, you also have too, in the same realm that we were growing up in, you also have those other ones that were growing up in the single parent households. Right. And the ones that may lack those mama issues, daddy issues, got all type of things that they are battling within their self, and they're trying to still find who they are. Right. Which unfortunately a lot of times is more of the women population than it is the men. Right. Although we won't get on that topic today, but men suffer from daddy issues as well, but we'll talk about that whole different topic.
Right. How do we know that we have been traumatized?
That's good. That's a good question.
I think it goes to what you were saying though, as far as like, I guess your reaction to certain things. You could tell when you date somebody and certain reaction that they have, or whatever, you could tell that it bothers you. I would say that. Now I know whether or not it's a trauma is if you see it multiple times, like I think we were talking about earlier. If you're able to see them same patterns over and over and over again, then more likely it's a trauma. It's something that's bothering you. How you get over it? To me, I feel like it's time. Time, preparation. It takes longer than others, for some people to even be in relationships, I feel like. Some people, find people younger, 15, 16, 17. You might find somebody in high school. You might find somebody in college, But if you're still having them same reactions to whatever, your trauma is, when you get to your later 20s, early 30s, then you can kind of look back and be like, okay, yeah, that's been bothering me for a minute. You feel me? That's something that I can't get over. You know what I'm saying? Or it might take a little bit longer. Or I might need to talk. I might need therapy or somebody else to talk to be able to, cope with whatever I'm dealing with at that particular time.
For me, any event that has happened to you that has cultivated how you act, think, or handle yourself as an adult.
In a negative way?
In any way.
You call it trauma?
I mean,
it gotta be negative if it's trauma.
If it's trauma, it has to be negative. So so in a negative way. So take for instance for me, my childhood trauma taught me not to trust a soul, especially men. And so I do not trust as easily as most people think you should.
You want to pray? I probably need to pray. Not right now.
Come on, man. Don't do that. Don't do me like that. Don't do me like that.
Because I feel like you can't go.
Lord, I've been telling you to send me a man to pray. Come on, man. Quit playing.
A lot of women suffer from the lack of a father in their household. So they kind of stationed to figure out how they want to move through life. Right. What may be best for them, what may be an avenue for them, what may be this for them, what may be that for them. And a lot of times, like you said, with that OnlyFans, that's a very deep topic for people.
Exactly.
And if you come from a traditional household,
they're not going for that.
You bringing them to your parents and you're like, what do they do? Like, same way with me, like, I now the age that I am, like when I was in high school, I used to date me a little trap nigga. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Shout out to him.
I can dig that.
But I used to date a little trap nigga, you know, do his little thing, sell his little whatever you want to do, you know what I mean? That's cool. That's high school.
Right.
That's not nothing serious. But at the age that I'm at now, like, sometimes I have a really hard time with even dating guys that may even have a tattoo past a certain level. Cause I know my daddy gonna be like, so what do he do? How, what is his everyday? Like, what is his, you know what I mean? Which, if I can explain his everyday, is cool.
Right.
But if I tell my daddy that, yeah, he's trying to be a rapper. All right, baby, well, we gonna move left.
Yeah, I feel like trauma, how you know is if it like triggers you.
Yeah.
If you feel a very big emotionally charged reaction to it, you know? And even maybe your partner is telling you, hey, why are you, you know, acting like this? And you're so emotionally charged, like you can't even process why. You're like, that's just how I am. Or you get defensive about it, you know? People will tell you certain things about yourself, and sometimes we're so emotionally charged and so traumatized by the previous events and stuff that we can't even hear what they're saying, you know? Like, it's hard to learn from it because we have to be able to calm ourselves down, breathe, and then realize, okay, this is a problem that I wasn't just born like this, you know? Like, people don't just are born, you know, paranoid that someone's gonna cheat on them or defensive or stuff like that. Like, that comes from somewhere. So I think that comes with maturity, just being able to identify that in a calm, like, emotionally controlled manner.
You can't not trust people though. Like, I feel like you gotta.
I trust people to I trust, you know what? I trust people as far as I can throw them.
I feel like
And that's because of my childhood trauma.
No.
And I learned that.
I'm about to challenge you a little bit. We might not be friends.
Shit.
I feel like you trust people as much as you trust yourself.
No.
I didn't come here to preach on tonight. I didn't come here.
That's not necessarily true, because if you have a cycle of people, different people in your life that break your trust, you have an issue with trusting people.
But the role
that's not saying I have an issue with trusting me.
But the role
I trust me. I know how I'm at.
Right, but the role you played in that was picking the person. Good God Almighty, I didn't come here for this. What happens is a lot of people are picking people. Amen.
I don't like the way you say it.
And they know these folks ain't no good, huh? And so what happens is when you pick the next person, you know you don't trust you to make a sound decision. Amen. And so what happens is when you pick I'm holding.
An ain't shit ass nigga.
The last time, and then you pick another one who also
ain't shit.
And then so now you built this space where I don't trust me to make a sound choice. So what happens is once you develop a trust within yourself that says, I'm gonna make a good choice. I know me well enough to pick a good man or female in my choice. Come on, somebody. But like, you know, when you know you well enough, because with me, I don't have trust issues. Because I know for me, I only attract. Good God Almighty! I didn't come here to.
Come on,
I'm gonna attract. Let me drink my little drink. Hold on, y'all. I'm only gonna attract people who are on my way for real, Because for me, I can recognize from afar if me and you not going, me and you not going.
Everybody's not that talented though.
Not talented. Everybody has a.
That's a skill. No. That's a skill.
No. Well, when I guess deal with my trauma. I mean, simple thing is, like you said, working out, or me personally, just get tatted. Because that's like dealing with my, like, pain, like, you know, my pain, like, I guess when you go through pain, you know what I'm saying, you gotta, that's just what I do. Like, I would just stay in the tattoo shop. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I was just trying to see how much pain. I was just trying to see how much pain you've been through, Charles. Go ahead.
Oh, this, yeah.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Yeah.
So what are some of the ways to get over trauma before going into a relationship?
I think time is everything. Time is what's going to get you to get over it the more healthy way. A lot of times, man, we as people, we hop into different things thinking that that's going to solve our problems. And a lot of times when we hop on new things, you know, we using that as a way to get over something that we probably won't ever be able to get over, if I'm being honest with you. In most cases, if I want to go to the standpoint of when if you feel like you're in a relationship and it doesn't work out, and you trying to get over that relationship and you go to a new one quicker than what you really feel like you should, because you feel like that's what's going to help you cope when you really just need time to be by yourself. It's the same thing. You know, time is everything. If you feel like it's something as a child that you have an issue with, or that's a trauma, and we can say as if if you was getting beaten on as a child, or if you want to say something as you was if you was a child and you was actually, you know, I'm gonna just say raped or, you know, just, you know, sexually assaulted as a child, time will only heal that. Time and communication, because whoever that you're going to be in a consistent or just any relationship with seriously, they need to know that, and time will only help that heal. I don't think you can hop into one relationship and hop in another one, and it can be healthy. I don't see nothing healthy coming from that, especially if you're not willing to communicate or understand where they're coming from, you know, physically or, you know, or mentally.
I was the type of person that was so trusting that from afar and damn halfway up, I'm thinking, okay, they're still great for me. They're still, this
What means still?
work.
What does still mean?
I mean, like, no matter what people say, all the, you know, adversities we may go through, like, I still try to find the good in people. That's why I say I don't trust people that well, because being younger, I have given a lot of trust to anybody for any reason, because I just felt like there's some good in everybody.
Fact, there is.
That I've been burnt a lot. So therefore, childhood trauma.
I mean, you can see the good in somebody, but they may need to be your friend, right? Like, they ain't got to be your partner.
I mean, but when you're that type of person, it's hard to distinguish, like, where you need to. You don't really have like categories and labels, like you boxes you put people in. You just kind of like love on everybody.
What?
Not like, okay, you see, no.
I mean, I feel like that goes back to like having like.
We're talking about childhood trauma.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
All right, cool.
But not on a serious note, I mean, when I would go through pain, I would just be like, man, let me just get in a tattoo shop. Or sometimes like, because I think it was somebody, they had brought up a situation, or I think y'all brought up a situation where like, I guess being open up as a man to your partner, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. So it was a situation being open up to my partner. Told her, you know, all, I guess, some hidden secrets or whatever the case might be. And didn't work out. Just put it out to everybody. Social media, and I'm just like, dang. So, you know, like, that's what type stuff. So it's just like, that's why, I mean, I know this kind of everywhere, but that's why certain men don't open up, because it's like,
it's the fear.
And I really, like you said, I really thought Shorty was
being humiliated.
Her. You know, I thought she was the one, so I'm like, yeah, let me tell her, you know,
I hated
certain things. So it's just like, that's why men do, I guess, put up that forefront of masculinity. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause, I mean, some men don't. Like me personally, I don't have no problem opening up. Like, I'll tell you my flaw. If you use it against me, me personally, I'm not gonna take offense. I'm like, oh shit, all right, shout it. That's what you want. All right, bye.
See, I want my manager. Come on, get up in these titties, talk to me. That's what I want. But
Exactly, like what you said about jumping from one relationship to another, you can't look for someone to fill your gaps and fix you. You have to become whole so you can then find another whole person and partner up to have a healthy relationship. So I think we just, instead of taking the time to personally develop, so when you get out of a relationship, you always learn. I feel like you always learn in a relationship, and then you can analyze like, okay, where was I lacking? Like, use our mind and just really reflect on that. And then even like, I started reading books a couple years ago, and that helped, like, How to Be an Adult in a Relationship is a book I read, and it helped me like discover a lot about myself and my past, and like how I am, why I am the way I am, and how I can be a better person in a relationship. So for me, I think it's like exactly what you said, jumping from one to another is not it. You have to work on yourself, take the time, and not give in to that loneliness and just, being lonely.
I feel like you have trauma when the things you want to work out don't work out. Like when you constantly trying to make things work and it keeps not hitting, I think you then will kind of realize, something's going on that's getting in the way of me achieving whatever goal I set, whether it's for a person, whether it's for a friendship, relationship, whether it's for a career. Like if something keeps getting in your way, you might have some trauma you need to work out.
Yeah.
so, I mean, honestly, I feel like to each his own, honestly. I do feel like time is essential. I don't think that you need to I think the biggest issue that people make is jumping into another relationship trying to get over the previous relationship, which is gonna always be the biggest issue. Like that person that you're jumping into that new relationship is gonna always suffer the brunt of what you dealt with previously. They're not gonna take it serious. They're gonna, they're just gonna look at you kind of crazy.
And also, I'm gonna add to that real quick. I think also learning to be by yourself is very, very important. Even without trauma, if I could take trauma out of it for a second, being able to learn how to be by yourself is very important. A lot of times we be lonely. We be at home thinking that, you know, we supposed to have somebody here, and that be reasons why we be hopping from this relationship to that relationship. A lot of times if we can learn how to be with ourselves, learn how to learn ourselves, it helps us to be able to take healthy relationships more serious. I think in the long term. You feel me? If you don't treat trauma early, how does that affect us growing up?
It makes you think that certain things are okay when they're probably not.
You preaching?
It could like tap on some insecurities that you may have and increase those.
So in doing that, how important is it to have a good support system?
Very important. Very important. That's easier said than done, though. I think if you ask that to 100 people, I mean, majority of them probably say yes, it's healthy. But I think you have at least 40% feel like that they can do it by themselves, and we can't do nothing by it. You can't do nothing by yourself.
Right.
Even if it's not financially, emotionally, you can use support in any way, shape, or form, whether it's your job or relationships or you playing sports or whatever. Encouragement helps you. It helps you build your character. It helps you stay on top of things in a lot of different ways. Not necessarily just trauma, but having a support system and having somebody, not necessarily somebody that you're being sexual with or somebody that that you're in a relationship with. Just having somebody outside that can understand where you're coming from is very important. It helps you, through, I think, more than just trauma, just through life in general. Ways to get over trauma going into new relationships.
Go to therapy, okay? Black people, all people, we need to go to therapy. Those people are not trying to be in your business. It's like a legal best friend. If you say something about my business, you can go to jail. But as long as you don't, I can tell you anything in the world. We need therapy. And I feel like the quicker we get into therapy, the better we'll be going into future relationships with other people.
Facts.
The less messy it'll be.
And I think for females, I personally, when I'm single, I appreciate my girlfriends so much as like even more than normal, because even when I'm single, if I have 3 to 4 really close girlfriends, like I'm good. I don't need to be with a man in a relationship because I have those girls, like we can spend the night together, we can like do things, and I can talk to them about like if I'm lonely, I call them, whatever. And just having like close friends that you can be with, because man is not supposed to be alone. It says in the Bible, like you don't want to spend a lot of time alone, because the idle mind is the devil's playground. So at that rate, you need to have a support system, good high frequency people that will be there for you so you can combat the loneliness. Because of course, if you're just sitting at home alone all day, you're gonna want someone to be there, and you're probably gonna want a romantic partner.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can get over trauma. Trauma. Therapy is a good one. I also think when it comes to trauma, like spending more time with yourself, right? Like a lot of us kind of hop
spending time?
Like a lot of us hop from person to person. A lot of us haven't done the work or the time to like spend with self. You kind of spend your life dating and feeling like you have to have somebody and having to like dive into somebody new and but really like just diving into yourself for a season can help with a lot of trauma that you experience, right? Just getting to know your value, so now next time I'm not gonna allow certain things to take place because I know my value, right? Like I'm not gonna turn the other cheek because I know what I'm bringing to the table, I know what I have going on, and you can't come in here any kind of way,
right?
And so I think that really does help spending time with self, for sure.
I mean, for guys too, I want to go into this. Like, I feel like as our generation is changing, guys need to also be less masculine, more open to just sharing like how they feel with their guy friends. Because guys just bottle up everything and like they don't know how to share if they're lonely or if like they need their friends' support in any kind of way, and then they bottle that up and then they look for like I'm gonna sleep with all these different girls or look for a different girl to date every other week or whatever. But I don't know. Your opinion on that?
I think that in order to get to that point where you're asking for, I think that they have to know and understand that they have trust with whoever they're confiding in.
Right.
Because a lot of times when guys early, when they are willing to be emotionally, tell you everything, this and that, third, I think to a lot of women it come off as weakness, as a weakness. Now that might be a maturity level as far as women, but when guys see that, that's not the guy. We always know that the good guy finishes last. Like the good guy is the one that is gonna communicate with you. It is gonna tell you all that. He is gonna call you when he said he gonna call you. He gonna do all of that. And for somebody, you know, when we see that, and we always see that the girl always go for the guy that, you know, you hit him up at 9 o'clock in the morning. He don't hit you back till about 1, 2, 3 in the afternoon. And because of that disconnect, to them it's like you like that. You like that push and pull. You like that. You don't like that automatically tell you everything. You know.
Right.
Now I feel like that has to do with maturity, because when you're over, you know, you in your later 20s, early 30s, you might be, you know, looking for that guy that's gonna communicate, gonna tell you his you know, all of his secrets. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But as for a guy, when he's been in situations where he has done that, and that's not he didn't get a response that he wanted, he's not gonna do that no more. It's a little bit different. Girls might be, you know, more into, because they're more nurturing. They might be into, you know, giving them that all at the beginning, or even giving them that all and then not working out and they continue to do it. You get what I'm saying? Because y'all are more nurturing. With guys, it's like, nah, it didn't work that first time, or I ain't finna try it, you know, the second time or this third time, because I'm not finna deal with you telling me, oh no, I'm not the one, because I'm actually trying to communicate with you.
What else? Because we just gave 2 things, but it's a lot people could do in order to get over trauma.
I think if it's like a confidence thing, like you can do things that build your confidence. I'm not saying everybody needs to go to the gym, everybody needs to like start eating, you know, grass.
But you do.
But what I'm saying is like lifestyle choices help with trauma. Like that's a real thing. Like going to bed at a decent hour helps with like getting into yourself in a way that also kind of supersedes whatever you've experienced in life, right? Like for me, I'm like, y'all ain't getting in my business that much, but for me, like I had some familial trauma growing up, right? Like some trauma with family. And so what's helped me is like loving on me, right? Like I didn't get the love from certain family members I wanted to get love from, but I'm gonna love on myself in that way, which means like I'm gonna treat myself properly, which means I'm gonna make sure my environment is healthy, make sure that I'm healthy.
But not to a point of where you're selfish. Because if you practice that too much, you can become a selfish.
You don't think selfishness is you don't think you need to be selfish at some point in your life?
Prime example, mine was my trauma in high school.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
And see,
ever
that's so,
since then, it's fucked.
that's
So I-
crazy.
But don't get it twisted. I don't take it out like, say if I'm dealing
No,
with
y'all
a female. Nah, like if I was like courting you or whatever. It like prime example, like if you do some fuck shit, I'm just gonna be like, all right, it is what it is. I mean, shit, you know what I'm saying? That's what Shorty did in high school, you know what I'm saying? Even though, like you say, it's some form of trauma, I'm not gonna take it out on you, but I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt, if that makes sense.
And I think that's the issue with women too. We give benefit of doubt too long, too much. But anyway, but yeah, like I think a lot of men. Some men don't really experience like the childhood trauma, like those that 5 through 10 gap.
like me.
But a lot of them experience like that middle school, high school breakup that they just still at 28, 30, 35 ain't got over.
Yeah, still. I mean, I'm over it, but you know what I'm saying.
You ain't over it.
I am over it.
You ain't over it because you still.
Nah, I ain't. I mean, if I
Kinda
was just scared,
scarred.
I'm like, hey, how
You
you
kind of
doing?
scarred. You kind of
Yeah, I'm scarred from the situation.
You kind of guarded. You guarded.
That's so hard for guys
women
because
to
it's like you
communicate.
break up with a female and like I know men are traumatized, like they are going through it. Because guys, at the end of the day, like you guys have this masculine front, but like you're going through it
facts.
internally. You have no one to talk to about it. Maybe some girlfriends, but then you just
Or their
cover it
mama.
up. Or their mama. So at the end of the day, like you guys are bottling that up. Girls get over things faster because we go to our girls and we're like, shit,
they're not
tell us
in-
everything,
yeah.
and then we're able to heal. But you guys bottle it up, and then you have to break down later and try to heal. You know what I mean?
I feel like you need to be selfish in a relationship. Honestly, like if you're gonna be in a relationship with somebody, I feel like you need to be selfish to the point to know that although you are wanting what's best for who you're with and you're hoping and helping them strive to be the best that they can be, you still have to take care of yourself. You still have to know that you need your, things that you need in order to be, you know, happy.
Like prioritizing yourself.
Yeah, I feel like you should always be selfish to a certain degree in life. And that's because being a selfless person taught me that.
Heard you.
Yeah.
So what can your partner do to make you feel comfortable communicating your childhood traumas?
First of all, I gotta see you as somebody that I want to even communicate that with. I gotta see something in you that I feel like I want something long term. For one, I gotta see that you're the one before I even get to that stage of even willing to communicate. If I don't feel like you're the one, I'm not communicating shit to you. Because in my eyes, I don't, it's no need. Now let's give a step. If I feel like you are the one, then it just also it comes down to communication. I should feel comfortable. It should come off. I shouldn't have to necessarily second guess me communicating anything with you. It should come off naturally. If I feel like you're the one, if you're the one, then it's the communication aspect is there. I'm going to want to do things. You're not going to have to ask me 2 or 3 times for me to do some shit before I actually do it. You know what I'm saying? So if I do have a trauma or something that's bothering me, even if I might be a little shy to even express it, I might be a little more comfortable because I like you as a person or we have a connection. You know what I'm saying? I already know if I tell you a flaw about me, you're not finna look at me side-eye and be like, oh no, I can't fuck with him, I'm gonna go to the next person. You actually gonna take that in consideration and at the same time still be able to accept me for a person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if I don't see that early, if I don't see you as that one, then no, I'm not gonna communicate that with you.
Right.
You know.
Do you think that trauma can manifest as lessons and actually create healthy behavior in a relationship?
Hell yeah. Oh, I'm on live. I definitely feel that way. I feel like, you know, not to make it like a queer thing, but I feel like queer black men have experienced trauma. That's just a reality. And so I think within that though, some beauty is birthed in that. I always say for me, it was from my queerness, that posture in my heart in a way, that's made me a better person because I care about people in a way. I'm kinder, like I'm more empathetic to people because I know, like for me, I went through so much self-hate and shame and all these things that I know now that to not treat people in that way. Right. And so for me, that trauma helped me to like be more loving and be more attentive and also be more invested in people's emotions and how they're experiencing their days.
If you grow up as a gay black man, you learn how to love.
Facts.
Because everybody hates you. Okay. And you have to learn how to love yourself first. Okay. For a long fucking time. So yeah, that's probably why you have the I'm sick of you.
I have more
you have to know if you have to decide, like, do I see you this long term, like you said? Because if it's just a fling or you don't see you long term, don't talk about your childhood trauma. Because things can get really uninteresting really quick and people can get scared off real fast. If I was just talking to a guy for the first couple weeks and then he came with me, you know, with his childhood trauma, I'd probably be like, oh no, like, I don't know. Right. I wouldn't take it well. It takes a build up. It takes like, you have to be fully invested into this relationship, maybe many, many months before like that can even play a part. Because that's some deeper level stuff that you need to work out for a long-term relationship or even marriage. Yeah.
To piggyback off of what you said, it is really, really, really hard, and I side with men with being masculine, but siding with expressing how they feel. I think it's a very, very hard. It's damn like you got masculinity and sensitivity on 2 different sides of the damn spectrum, and you're just kind of trying to figure out which way to kind of go or how to even balance the 2. Right. And it sucks that you can't be vulnerable enough to the right type of person or the person that you want to, in the fear of them bringing that out and against you. Yeah. Right. And at the age that we're at, I would pray that a lot of women and a lot of, like, I'm in my late 20s. So I would really hope that a lot of people or women are now in the space that they need to be in to accept a man in his vulnerability and realize that he's now aware of what he may have experienced in his life, whether it's something that he experienced as a child at 5 or whether it's something that he experienced as a teenager at 18, 19, 20. Because like you said, traumas come in different forms. Women can be a trauma for a man. And I think a lot of women are trauma for guys. A lot of men have their first heartbreak and they done. they out for the count. They don't want to do nothing else. They don't want to ride with it. Right. You know what I mean? So they looking at everybody like, nah, baby, what you need from me?
Right. Every traumatic experience should turn out to be a lesson. If you don't learn from anything that you're going through, then you're wasting time. You're stuck. I absolutely do believe it can manifest into a lesson. Just learn that damn lesson, okay? And don't go back to it.
So in conclusion, childhood trauma definitely affects relationships in your current relationships. I think the biggest thing. I honestly don't think that you realize your childhood traumas in your later 20s. I feel like it's impossible to realize them in your early 20s. You can try to call yourself being in tune with who the fuck you are, but a lot of times you really don't realize them until you've dated enough people to realize what triggers you and what doesn't.
True.
Some people that you date may not trigger anything out of your childhood trauma. It's the best relationship you ever been in. And then you may have a relationship that may be possibly toxic that triggers everything, and it makes you look like, damn, okay, well maybe, maybe I am a communicator, but maybe I'm not an active listener.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm an active listener, but I really can't communicate how I truly, truly feel about this certain thing. I allow that other party to do whatever they want to do and say how they want to say and move forward with it. And that's me speaking personally. Like I just kind of feel like I'm a communicator, but sometimes I may not possibly actively listen to what my partner may be saying to me. And communicating effectively and actively listening go hand in hand. Because you can't communicate effectively and not expect the other person. It just don't go. Like, you gotta do both. Like, they have to go hand in hand.
In conclusion, I think childhood trauma does affect you in relationships, but I don't think it cancels you out of a relationship. I think that you can definitely overcome whatever you've been through. I'm about to go into a workshop, but I feel like you can overcome whatever you've experienced in your life. You can definitely get better, and I don't think anything you've been through disqualifies you from quality. Sometimes we think because we've been through this traumatic experience, whether it was sexual assault, whatever the thing may be, that now you have to settle, and you don't. Like, that's not how life is. That's not how life is intended. That's not how God intended for your life. And so, all in all, I think trauma happens, but you continue to happen, and so keep continuing to happen, right? And keep loving on people, keep loving on yourself, make time for yourself. That helps with trauma, in my opinion. I think also therapy is a really big part of it. You need an unbiased person to just tell you about yourself and somebody to talk to and ask you proper questions, and check in with yourself. Get rid of people who are no longer good for you. A lot of you guys, listen real quick. A lot of people have expired friendships that are still going, right? Like,
and it might be a little
they've expired, and that smell you smell is that person. Get them out your fridge. And so reality is, like, you can't keep having expired people around you and wondering why your energy is off when you're around certain people, why your vibe goes down when you link with your boy whose vibe used to be up. Like, people expire. Not everybody, but people expire. And don't be afraid to acknowledge when someone needs to get more space away from you, and also when someone needs to be closer to you.
Yeah. In conclusion, do I feel like childhood traumas affect us in relationships? I think it does. I feel like to get over that, I feel like you have to find somebody that you're deeply in tune with. Everybody don't deserve to get to even know your deepest, darkest secrets. And so after you gotta know yourself and know who you're dealing with to be able to express that, I wish that we all was able to find somebody that we're able to express those thoughts with. That's the goal, I think, in all aspects. I feel like communication, to get over those traumas, I feel like communication is number one. Being able to communicate, wanting to communicate that, being comfortable with communicating it is the number one thing in my book. But yeah, I do feel like it does affect us. A lot of times I feel like we don't express that, and that's the number one issue. We're afraid of the response, and that's why I feel like we don't express those things. But I feel like if you want something healthy, if you want something long term, you got to be able to be in the mindset of being vulnerable with that person. If you're not going to want to be vulnerable, or you saying that you're not going to be vulnerable, then you can't expect that relationship to work or to be healthy. And I feel like until you're comfortable with expressing whatever that trauma is to your significant other or whoever you're dealing with, until you're able to do that, I don't see that relationship ever being successful.
In conclusion, yeah, I can say the same as well. More so, I'm a listener, but communication sometimes can be shit. So,
So you
like
gotta have an equal balance. But I honestly feel like that's a big issue with us as adults, period.
Yeah.
I think you may have one that's a very good active listener, but don't know how to communicate. Or one that communicates, says everything that they want to say, but don't actively take what their partner is telling them. So I think that...
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
I mean, what? Y'all gonna tell what's going on? Am I lying?
Okay, yeah, but... Yeah.
You gonna tell us what we ain't doing right.
For sure.
Right. But listening? I mean, but like in her words, that's a topic for another discussion. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gonna.
You might be right. And I mean, I ain't even gonna lie. Like, now that you might have a case.
But in conclusion,
so I think it's better. Women, we need to be more aware. Just let's actively communicate. I mean, actively listen as well.
Right.
Let's take what's heed, even though it may hurt our feelings. Let's take what's heed to what's being said. So yes, in conclusion, childhood traumas definitely affect modern day relationships.
Childhood trauma is going to affect you in all of your future relationships. But with good therapy, shit, in my opinion, some good sex and some money, you'll learn how to overcome all of that and you can be happy with all your childhood traumas in life. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Conclusion, I would say, identify your toxic traits maybe that are emotionally charged and fix them. Work on them before you jump into a relationship. And then if you see that person long term, you have to communicate about it and have an open heart and make sure they do too and make sure they're equally vulnerable about it. And that comes later with maturity. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Toast to that.
Toast. Yup. So
about why women think that men expressing their emotions are weak. It's because of patriarchy, because men think it's weak and women learn from y'all. And the moment men start making it a thing to express to others, like, dude, it's okay if we do this. Like, let's stop teaching women that it's not okay because they're going to continue to look at it this way. The moment y'all look at yourselves and say, like, no, this is not weak, this is actually strong, expressing what who I am and why I am and all these things, and that's when women are going to like, oh, okay, because unfortunately the on a macro level, women, they do things to impress men, and so they're going to adopt the mentality of men in order to make those things happen.
I agree with you.
And if you're adopting toxic masculinity as a woman, then it's just going to be this continuous cycle where nothing's ever going to be like this. But yeah, so men, just like, the women who can't think for themselves, teach them that it is okay.
You know what's kind of crazy too though? Think about culturally though, if you look at the white culture and white men culture, I see a lot of white guys and girls, white dudes are more feminine. Yeah. Like for real. Like if you look at a relationship or a marriage, a guy is like really emotional, open. Yeah. And why don't white women see that as weak?
Or on a separate horizon though, like white, like she said,
it's so
white
different.
Women are easy to follow suit and pursue whatever that white man is portraying.
Yeah.
As with black cultures or any other Hispanic, anything outside of white. Yeah. We look at it as a man. If a man is very open and vocal about his feelings, we like.
Exactly. It's like literally.
But that's because in the white spaces, you don't have to think about protection as much as a black girl does. Yeah. White women are thinking about being protected by their husband. As often as a black girl is thinking about he needs to protect me. And so if you're feminine, you can't hold me down like I need you to because shit might get real. And I think white people don't think about shit getting real because shit don't really get that real,
Yeah. That's real.
That's very.
That's a good one.
But you protect me and still tell me about your feelings?
I mean, of course you can. But
yeah, but you said, but look, no, you're saying that as a late 20s, early 30s, you're a girl. Tell somebody that's 21, 22, 23 that's dating a guy that's telling them everything that's going on in their life. You know what I'm saying? To them, they're like, man, I ain't fucking with that.
I feel like women, we love a man who can communicate in private. And the men in the world, they're like, no one can fuck with them.
Even in private, though, I feel like that has to do with maturity.
Honestly, I think it does come with maturity. I think the issue is when I know just me speaking from experience in my early 20s, the whole being vulnerable thing, I'm like, like it wasn't even weak. It was just like, okay. But now, I long for that because now I realize how at 21, 22, I may have been struggling with the hidden trauma that I had no idea about, that I now know at 28, 29 that it's something that I want to talk about. And I know now anybody that I'm dating has now dealt with some type of trauma in their life.
Right.
So now I'm aware of childhood traumas, and now I'm aware of how long they can transcend until you attack them how you should attack. Mm-hmm. So I think that was one thing. Like in early 20s, you're not thinking about that.
Right.
You living, dating, having sex, doing whatever you want to do. But the moment that you get to a certain tier and you hit over that threshold, you're like, okay, you know what? Things that I did in my early 20s, that was an issue. And now I need to tackle what happened in my early 20s, now in my late 20s. I know it may be kind of late, but let me be more mindful about it and let me find out how I can maneuver through this. And hopefully somebody is open enough to understand what I've been through in my past.
But you gotta give men the full range to be their full selves.
Yeah,
like I think a lot of women feel like they police when a man can be emotional, right? Like you can cry at this movie, not that movie. You can cry about your homeboy dying, but you can't cry about losing a job. Like you know what I'm saying? It's like very specific things that men can emotionalize. And it's like you gotta give a man a freedom to have a cry moment that you don't understand and not judge him for that, right? Like can I cry about SpongeBob and you not think I'm soft? Like right, can I cry? Or can I be unsure? Can I also be like insecure at moments? I think the biggest thing women turn off with a guy is being insecure. If a guy says I don't feel attractive, a girl's like, what the hell, you a nigga? Why you care? But guys care about looking good, right? The guy care about, but girls make it seem like y'all the only ones who can want to look pretty. Niggas want to look good too. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a real life thing, but it comes with age for sure.
Where does this like masculinity come from? Is it the women or the men that are doing this? Because she had a great point about the men making that. The men are the ones that are doing it. We're just.
Honestly, I think it's all like the root of it. Unfortunately, is homophobia.
Facts.
The root of it is homophobia.
And even now, the women I think are so on guard about the guy being gay that they are looking for it. Like you'll find girls who are like, oh, wait a minute, he got clear cell in his bathroom. What do y'all think? Like I don't know. I saw 2 lotion bottles. I don't know. And it's like, damn, Rebecca had no lotion on. Like, can he wear some lotion?
I like for a nigga to be clean. I
But a lot of women like a man to be clean while not applying any effort to it. So like, you want a guy with perfect skin but no products. You want a guy with beautiful hair but no. Like, how is it gonna coexist?
Okay.
Like, you can't be but so great without having the preparation. And like, I have so many females like, oh, you think he? No, I don't think he's nuts. I think he is who he says he is. But like, you're so on guard.
He did like men. Why does it matter? He likes you too. Shut up, God.
Oh, we ain't having that. Girl, now you know the girl's not going for that. Like you know that.